Hello, and welcome back to High Vibe Table Talks. I am your host, Marshawn Hargrave. And if I were to ask you this question, I'm curious what your answer would be. What currency do you currently have? What is your favorite currency? What currency do you like to hold on to and savor? Where do you spend most of your currency on a day to day basis? And most of the time, when we think of currency, we think of money. But in today's episode, we're going to talk about how there's actually three very valuable currencies that we have, and we have to be very particular about how we spend them. So I was sitting at dinner with some girlfriends over the weekend. If you're in the Rochester area and have never been to Tavo's Taqueria, I highly recommend. It was the best margarita that I think I've ever had. It was so delicious, and I got their enchiladas, and they were amazing. And if you're Tavo's Taqueria, sponsor me. But we were talking about how we're spending our time and different projects we're working on, and just catching up with friends who are also working, and mothers, and just trying to figure out how to do all of the things, which you can never do. And I was talking with those girlfriends, and I said, we have three things. We have time, energy, and money. And you're going to spend one of those when you're trying to do something. And so you just have to figure out what's the most important to you. And they looked at me and they're like, wow, never thought about it like that. Like, that was really well said. And I'm like, I think more people need to hear that and use it as a filter, because if you're thinking about where we are today and where we are going, we are at the end of October. I think this episode is still going to come out in October. Yes, it'll come out the last week of October. And so that means, that's crazy, that next week is November. Is it? Or maybe it's the week after. Doesn't matter. November is especially when you listen to this, the following week is going to be November of 2025. That's crazy. If you are lucky enough to be listening to this in Canada, that means Thanksgiving has already passed. Jealous. I talk about all the time with different groups that I'm in with people in Canada. Sorry, this is such a tangent. Sorry, ADHD. And oops. In Canada, they have Thanksgiving in October, which I think is so great, because I think that the rush from Thanksgiving to Christmas and New Year's and those holidays is just so fast. It feels so fast and furious. And if it could be a little bit more spread out, that'd be great. I digress. But if you are in the United States, November means that Thanksgiving is coming up, which means that not too far behind there is Christmas. And I am pointing out the holidays that I celebrate. I know there's a lot of other holidays that are in there. It's just a very busy time. And so if you are an entrepreneur, that means that not only is your time going to be stretched differently, because there's different events, different parties, different get-togethers that you're going to be asked to go to. And so on top of, juggling all the things that we do, there are going to be things at schools, there's going to be concerts, there's going to be, I go to the gingerbread decorating with my daughter, and we're going to do some cookie decorating here at the house. And the day after Thanksgiving is when I put my tree up, and, just all the things that are holiday focused. And guess what else comes with that? Presents, buying gifts, donating to different charities. And so that is going to take one of your resources of money. Especially as a mother, wanting the holidays to be magical, managing all the family expectations, who's going where, when, who expects us where, when, what do we have to bring, what do we have to dress like, does everybody have what they need? That is a big tax on our energy. both mentally and physically. The mental load of making sure that everything is done in the way that we hoped it to be done, and it's never perfect. On top of physically running around, going to different things, your social battery being used up. And so it is a time of the year where our time, energy, and money are, I would say, probably more depleted than in other times. That being said, where we also are is, the last 2 months of the year where we do a lot of like reflecting back on how the year has been and looking to the future and how we want next year to go. And so I wanted to take some time today to talk about the 3 different currencies that we have so that we can remember to step back and use our goals and not just our goals, but like our missions and like big picture as a filter of what we want to happen. And so, um, as an entrepreneur, we do a lot of different things. And so thinking about money, it's not always like how much can I bring in, but where am I spending it in a smart way? Sometimes like I use this as an analogy because it's something that people understand, but it's like I could I learn how to change my oil? Sure. But is that my zone of genius? Is that going to be worth my time versus just spending money and buying, the paying someone who it is their zone of genius to get it done in 20 minutes? And so, um, you know, I think that why I wanted to start with money is because I think that money gets this like a bad rap, and people are like, oh, don't talk about money. It is a really important currency. And not only do we want to bring in more of it, and that should be a focus of ours, is how can I make more money? We also have to remember and be very conscious of where we are spending it. Um, and in my opinion, I think that money is an amplifier of who we are. Like, there are people who make a lot of money and are very greedy and do poor things with it. They have poor moral character. There are a lot of people who do make a lot of money and do really good things with it. They are of good moral character, and it can amplify um, what you do. And so we always say that money brings you freedom and options. And so the more money I bring in, the more options I have to travel different places, to pay people to do different things, to experience different things. And so money doesn't hold this negative morality. It's how you choose to spend it. And so, making sure that we're spending time in this season, bringing in as much money as we can and building systems that continue to bring in money while we do spend our time in other places and spaces like gingerbread decorating or out caroling or donating our time to go work in a soup kitchen, those sorts of things. Can you build systems and put things in place so you can bring in money while you are spending your resources in other places? And so the next thing I wanted to talk about was time, because time is such a big currency of ours. And so in this time where there's going to be a lot of people who ask you for your time, there's going to be demands on your time of the email that came in or the text message, and I want this to be a permission slip for you to say no. When I was early in my podcasting career, it was interesting. I talked about the power of yes, and I talked about the power of no. No being a full sentence. When you say no, that is a full sentence, and that is okay. And releasing the guilt of saying no because you are only one person. And when you do say yes to things, you are saying no to other things. And so remembering that like you only have 24 hours in a day, you only have so much time to put towards things that are important to you. And so take some time and sit and think about what is important to you. How do you want to spend the rest of 2025 and start 2026? And are the things that you're saying yes to high enough of a priority to take some of that time? It's okay for there to be things that you say yes to, and it's okay for there to be things that you say no to. Time is such a valuable resource, and you have to protect it, because you don't get it back. And there are so many things in today's day and age that are asking for our time that it is okay to say no. And so maybe tomorrow morning when you're in the mirror and you're going to practice someone saying, "Hey, Marshawn," or "Hey, Lisa," or "Hey, Jeffrey, can you do this for me? Can I hand this off to you? Can you do this? Can you join us for this?" And you're just going to practice saying, "I can't do that." Or, "I appreciate the offer, but it just, with the time I currently have, I have to say no to that." That sounds like a wonderful opportunity, and I know you're going to find someone that is a perfect fit for that. In this, with my bandwidth that I currently have, I have to say no. And you can do so in a kind and gentle way. You could say no and just be like, "No," again, full sentence. And if that doesn't feel comfortable for you right now, or you want to make sure that the person doesn't like shut down and feel like you're just always going to say no, just at this season where I am with my bandwidth, I don't have the capacity to say yes to that, but thank you for asking me. And so practice saying that a couple different ways, see how it feels, see what feels good, and really make sure that you are protecting your time. And also, when you are looking at your day-to-day activities, maybe this is another thing that you can do is like write down, take a screenshot every 5 minutes. Maybe you set your timer or whatever you do, but just every 5 minutes, say, "What did I spend the last 5 minutes on?" And write it down. And then at the end of the day, be like, "Okay, what did I actually spend all of my time on? Like, what really," and just take an analysis of what you are spending your time on. And then again, use that filter. Are these things moving the needle forward? And I'm not saying they all have to be bringing in more money or growing your business. They can be you getting quiet, you laughing with your children, you decompressing and reading a book, you picking up your hobby, you learning something, you spending time organizing so that a space feels better to you. Those are all things that I would say move the needle forward. But if you're spending too much time maybe scrolling or, you know, wandering around from task to task or spending too much time in email and you want to change that, the only way you know how to change that is when you take an analysis of what am I actually spending my time on. And last but not least, the last currency is energy. Energy is something that we tend to ignore until we have nothing left. You always hear that adage of like, you can't pour from an empty cup. And raise your hand if your cup has ever been empty. I expect that everybody listening to this right now, your hand is raised. I really like when I'm in a season of life and I'm doing things and I prioritize things so that I'm pouring from the overflow. Like I'm so jazzed and so like pouring into myself that my cup is overflowing, and that is where I'm pouring into others from. I'm not in a season of that right now. I was journaling on it this morning, and I'm doing some work to try to feel replenished and find some more white space and do things that do fill my cup and make me just create more momentum in your day. Like when I have the most energy on a day-to-day basis, I'm doing things that are very quiet and grounding in the morning, and I'm creating so much good momentum that the rest of my day, just because my morning is so good, that literally I could do like nothing the rest of the day and I would feel productive. But because I'm already have the ball going, that my day just inherently gets more productive because of the momentum I have created. And so often we can wake up and automatically go to that to-do list. But I want you to take a second and say, every morning, or maybe this is something you do a couple times a day, especially as you are first getting into it, and say like, where's my energy right now? Do I need to take a walk? Do I need to do some breathing? Do I need to meditate? Do I need to go for a run? Do I need to call a friend? Do I need to actually have like I have a collection on TikTok of videos that like make me pee my pants. I laugh so hard. And so sometimes when I just need a good belly laugh, I just go to that collection. And maybe that's what you need. Maybe it's just like your head is spinning and you just need to take yourself out of something. And so you just watch something funny for 5 minutes. Um, but really being using your energy as a real currency, which again, just like your time, you have to protect it. You have to check in with yourself. No one can refill your energy except for you. You have to be the guardian of that. And so you have to remember how to fill it, when to check in. Um, Again, this goes back to saying no because my bandwidth just isn't there with my energy. I think I talked in the last episode about spoons and like how many spoons do I have today? And sometimes you have 2 spoons and sometimes you have 10 spoons. And um, on the days that you have 2 spoons and you use your 2 spoons, you gave 100%. Days that you had 10 and you used 10, you gave 100%. But like just because you had 2 spoons and didn't give 10 spoons worth of energy does not mean you only gave 20%. It's about managing the energy that you have in the season, in the day, in the space that you are in, and understanding where your energy thrives. I was listening, it's interesting, and I don't have a complete thought on this yet because I saw something the other day and I actually sent it to my athletes, and it talked about how brilliance is in the boring. And so it was based off of this baseball player who does the same 90-minute warm up before he pitches every single day. He does exact same thing every single day for 90 minutes before he practices. It's just his warm up every day, whether he's pitching or just practicing, or that's what it is. And as someone who, runs a program and creates practice plans, um, every single day for my athletes, like sometimes they can get boring. And I think that like my friction with it right now is that as an entrepreneur, I don't know how to handle that as someone with ADHD as well, because I saw something on Threads the other day. It was like, getting things done with ADHD isn't about importance, it's about interest, and like how much interest you have in something will motivate you to do something much more than the importance of it. And so how do you manage knowing that that's how my brain works and not blaming or shaming my brain for working that way while also trying to make sure that I get the boring things done? I don't have an answer to that. But some of it is just in being super protective of my energy and making sure that I'm not doing too many things all at once that are super draining. It's one of the reasons I love prospecting power hours. I know that I can give that energy for 1 hour. 1 hour, I can do that with other people, with the accountability of my cohort, surrounded by people doing the exact same thing in a very vulnerable way. And so it's not about like the quantity, like I'm not cold calling, 8 hours a day. It's about the quality. I have 1 hour where I can do this really, really well. I also saw something the other day, and maybe this is part of the boring side and like how to kind of create less friction with that, is that if you do something for 18 minutes a day, that will add up to over 100. Is it 100 hours? I think it's 100 hours for the year. 18 minutes a day. You do something for 18 minutes a day. Over the course of a year, you'll do it for 109 hours, I believe it is. Yeah, 109 hours. So if you do something for 18 minutes a day, over the course of a year, you will have done that thing for 109 hours. 18 minutes. And if you do anything for 18 minutes every single day, you will be better than 99.9% of the population at that thing. Maybe it is prospecting, maybe it's cold calling, maybe it's playing lacrosse, maybe it's crocheting, maybe it's public speaking, maybe it's reading self-growth books, maybe it's doing taxes, whatever it is. 18 minutes a day. And so can you say, I'm going to do this thing that's important but not exciting for 18 minutes a day? And then protect your energy with it, because it's 18 minutes and then you can go do something that fills your cup. There's so much more freedom in knowing I have to do it for this finite amount of time. So I feel like I gave you a couple of questions throughout this episode to just kind of filter your day to day from, to remember, how are you protecting, spending, managing your three top currencies, which is time, energy, and money. I hope this was helpful. And if you're Tawas Taqueria, please sponsor me. Until next time, remember that big dreams and small steps will transform your life.